Okay, before we call the meeting to order, you can stand up and stretch as the ushers hand out some informational piece of paper, and then we'll call the meeting to order. Okay, if everybody can start to find a seat, and we'll get going. Okay, we'll call this special meeting to order to go over the solar panel project. And okay, so Jim Gundin will present this for Creation Care. Just some quick notes. The reason we made the quick change this morning was we were having trouble with it in the Fellowship Hall, and we wanted to make sure that we could live stream this to people who couldn't be here to go through this. So we will have a vote afterwards. The ushers will hand out ballots, and when we get to that point, I'll come up and get that running. So here's Jim.
Well, thanks everyone for staying in your interest. That hymn sing was a little more inspirational than I expected it to be. Literally brought, a couple little songs brought tears to my eyes. So just to start with a couple things. Creation Care has been working at this for a while, but I'm very happy to say that we've worked with Finance Committee, who's looked at our analysis, and we've also worked with the Property Committee, the staff, and the board. And the one-pager you have was really written by the board, more under Sonia's guidance to say, let's not lose people, let's not make this overly complicated. I kind of take it personally because I'm so nerdy with this stuff. There's so much I want to say and so much I want to talk about that, like, let's just keep the focus. So solar has a lot more to do in benefits than just money, but mainly what we're going to be talking about is funds, because it is going to take some money to do this. But We think we have a pretty good solution here. The other thing is, I was asked to try to do this in 15 minutes, so I'm literally setting my timer here. So we have plenty of time for question and answer, and we don't want that coffee cake to get stale. So we really need to hold those things in high priority. So the clock starts now. If this works. Just hit the next slide. I got it turned on its green. I'm pushing the button. Should I be aiming back here? We have another eclipse. There we go. Okay. So we're going to talk about the project cost and how we're going to pay for it. We'll talk a little bit about the financial benefit to Zion, and an illustration of where the panels would be located and their size. And then at the end, we'll have Amy's going to come up and talk about some possible fundraising and involvement for everybody in the church, and question and answer. So just at the high level with the project costs, we estimated it would be somewhere between $190,000, $180,000, and $225,000. So it came right in at about $208,000, which is about what we expected. We are budgeting for what we're calling underlayment for the panels, so grass and weeds and nasty stuff doesn't grow in there. I don't know that we'd spend $20,000. I doubt that we'd spend more than that, but we didn't want to go short. And also a contingency. So the only contingency that we know of would be whether when they're trenching underground to run the cable, whether they're going to hit rock, or when they're going to put the grid in to hold the panels, whether they'd hit rock and cause a little more labor hours and effort to do that. Those are the only contingencies that we know of. So that total wraps up to $238,000, which I think probably to all of us seems like a lot of money. But there's good news. And I'm sorry you can't see all this, but it pretty much follows the handout that again shows Sonia's wisdom of saying, let's make this accessible to people. And I can't even read it. So basically what we're saying is through direct payment grants from the IRS, we'll get 30% off of at least the $208,000 just for putting renewable energy up. This is law, it's been passed, it's happening. The second part of it is another 10% that we'll get because the equipment is made in the U.S. So at least 40% of the equipment has to be made in the U.S. to be eligible for that extra money. And the vendors have certified that it is. In addition to that, and you'll see it in your paper as well, Creation Care and the youth group have put together, I forget what the total is now, I don't have the paper in front of me, but you have that there. So another $70,000+. So we've got $70,000 coming from the government, we've got $70,000 coming from the youth group and Creation Care. And there are two possible grants that we know of. We don't know for sure that we'll get them. On the MCUSA, which was formerly the Mennonite Creation Care Network, I think there's a pretty good confidence level we'd get $5,000 or $10,000 from them. The Everence one is a new one that we just found out about. So I do know that AMBS got $20,000 for some work that they did, but it's very new. We don't know the details on that yet, so we're not sure of that. The Finance Committee recommended that to pay for it originally, there was money in the capital projects funds that would cover the difference. And so we're kind of talking about using that as a checkbook. And it matches your sheet there. that depending on the grants, the cost to the church would either be $69,000 or $84,000. So starting from over 200,000 to get that number down to 69 to 84 is pretty good. So two things the way that I think are good to think about it is one, you're getting a 40% off sale for one thing, and second, this is really an annuity. So once we spend the money, it's not like it disappears. The second we commission this, it's going to start saving us money and adding money back to the church right away. So I'm sorry that the illustration isn't very clear. So as far as the timeline goes, and again, I want to stress this is just before we would do any kind of fundraising opportunity with the church. Between the SREX, which is explained in your one-pager, and the cost savings starting at $17,000 a year in our budget that we wouldn't have to pay for, our modeling shows that the capital reserve would be refunded back to where it was in 2027. So a 3-year payback is really pretty fast. As far as the size and the placement goes, this is fairly accurate. It will be in that general area, whether it's an inch or two to the right or the left or back and forth, I can't guarantee, but in aerial view, that's what it would look like. Okay, I've got 8 minutes and 30 seconds left. So the size of it is that the height, and this kind of concerned us a little bit because in the proposal, it said that it was 19 feet of solar panels. Well, that's pretty tall. So Suzanne and I were talking about this, like, why does it need to be that high? It doesn't make sense because we've had panels for 13 years and ours is like 8 feet high. Now, this is a bigger installation. So do we have any of the students here that are in junior high or high school that are learning trigonometry? They all bailed on me. There's one left. So think of it, here's where I was really poor in math, so I had to watch YouTube videos and get out my books and stuff to figure this out. So think of it as a right triangle. You remember SOHCAHTOA? So you figure out the dimensions for the sine, tangent, cosine. So think of the solar panels as the hypotenuse. So you need to find the sine opposite the hypotenuse, which when we did that, it said like 7.5 feet. Well, that made me feel a little better, and I told Bob, it's like, can't be more than 8.5 or 9 feet max. But our the master engineer replied back to Bob and said, well, at its highest point, it will be 11 feet. So I don't know if the ground's slightly uneven, but anyway, that was fun to actually apply some math that I'm learning all these years later. And our master electrician, by the way, is Amish. So yeah, his driver came and I was pretty impressed with him. It's like you guys know how Amish put up barns. Well, he was kind of the same way with the electricity. We'd fire all these questions at him, and he'd be like, yeah, that will work. That's fine. We can do this. We can do that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. So, yeah. Okay, good reference, thank you. So, and the other thing to remember is coming up Cherry Street, you're coming up a grade. So, I mean, it will be a higher point, like right behind the barn. So from the parking lot, you probably won't see much of it, but obviously from Cherry and front, you will. So our assumptions are It's a 25-year warranty on its effectiveness and its operation, and so you think in long term this is going to contribute to the church for a long time and provide a lot of value. On a more sobering note, according to life expectancy and demographics, these things are going to outlive me, but that's just the reality we have to face. So, when we get to a certain age, we think about our legacy and what we contribute and what we've done, and so I think this would be a very favorable thing for the church. So our assumptions are at least 25 years. And this sounds like science fiction, but it's really happening. People have already tested successfully satellites with big solar panels in space beaming down to Earth. That may happen 25 years from now, I don't know, but we'll see. I don't know what the next generation of energy will be, but this will last at least 25 years and then some. We modeled in a 4% annual increase of electricity. I think it's not going to be a flat 4% each year. We're not saying that, but I think in the last year it went up, 20% or something like that. I forget exactly what it is. But inflation is real. We all know that. We hear it in the news every day, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. And the SRECs, and it's helpful in the paper, there's a definition of that. They fluctuate with the market. It can be anywhere from $28 to $45. It all depends on a lot of variables. There is legislation that would increase this in the Pennsylvania State House in a very big way, but we don't know whether that's going to pass or not, so we're assuming 30 in our model. We just got an ACH transaction on our system. It was like $32, I think, for the SREC. So this is very timely. We don't have any cost estimate for maintenance, especially if we put the underlayment in there. If we do a good job, no one's going to have to crawl on their hands and knees and have to do any weed whacking or anything like that underneath the panels. So over 25 years with that model, $642,180 of electricity savings will be afforded to church. That's just money out of the budget each year we won't have to pay. That money can go into the capital fund to be used for a big backlog of maintenance items that we need to do for the church. The SRECs, we're modeling that, so if they stay at $30 each, we'll generate $106 a year for 25 years, and those will come to the church. Again, those can go to the capital projects account or wherever the church deems them to be most important. So that gives us a total of $721,680 in terms of the modeling. So will it be exactly that? No. Will that be in the ballpark? Yes. I think we've lived with it for 13 years, and the modeling that we have and what it's producing for us has been true. So I think myself and the committee has pretty good confidence that what we're saying is what's going to happen. So I think if I touch this again, it'll go to the next slide. So Amy, do you want to come and do your thing? I still have 1 minute and 43 seconds left. I yield my time to the distinguished senator.
So you just saw or heard Jim's presentation, and we have a very exciting proposal before us that will mean a lot for energy independence and financial security for the church facilities into the future. We're also doing something for the greater community by taking pressure off the electrical grid and possibly even supplying extra energy back to the grid. As a member of both the Finance Committee and Creation Care Committee, I see how much this project makes both financial sense and helps us be wonderful stewards of God's creation for using the sun to power the ministries of our church. 100% of our Creation Care Committee have committed to this project, with the gifts already committed by members of Creation Care and a project that the youth did, and the reimbursement from the federal government that we would get. We would need to raise a little over a third of the funds to make this project a reality. without tapping into future electrical savings to do it. We can do that, but it would be nice if we wouldn't have to. Future electrical savings and funds generated from the SRECs, solar renewable energy credits, could go toward other capital needs of the church faster and they will continue into the future. Now, I don't know what button to push. We'll see if I do it right. This is a sample chart of a potential giving program based on the $83,960. I rounded it to $84,000 just to make round numbers. It's not an exact science, this church, and certainly we'd be happy if this proposal gets accepted, to accept any dollar amount any donor is able to give, whether it's something less than what is averaged out to $525 cost per panel. We divided the 160 solar panels into the 84,000. So this chart, you might not be able to see it real well, but if 6 donors gave $3,150, that would cover 6 panels for a total of 36 panels, and that would be $18,900. If 8 donors gave $2,100, 4 panels, that would add up to 32 panels at $1,680. If 10 people gave $1,575, that would cover 3 panels, and for 10 people, that would add up to 30 panels at $1,577.50. 16 persons giving $1,050 each person would be purchasing or donating toward 2 panels, and that would total 32 panels, and that would add up to $16,800. And if 30 donors gave $525, each $525 would cover a panel, and that would cover 30 panels and give us $15,750. So that totals $840. But any gift, whether large or small, in any amount toward the project would be gratefully accepted. The goal would be to help us get to paying the project sooner and have to borrow less against future solar income and savings. I hope that if the solar project proposal is passed by the congregation, that everyone would prayerfully consider what they might be able to pledge to give over the coming weeks and months above what they normally would give to the annual support of the church. There are tax-wise ways to give, and some of you might not know my background was in fundraising, so I know some of these things, and if you have questions about that, when you're retired, some folks can give charitable distributions from their IRA. If you have a donor advised fund, you could give that way. You could give appreciated stock, or just give regular old check or cash, and that can help. We have not put a button on the online giving site yet for this, but that would be a way you could give too. And again, we just like to have broad support for the whole project and broad support in contributing to this wonderful project that would be, good for the future of the church. Each panel generates, so if you gave $525 for a panel, over 25 years you're going to generate $4,510.50 toward the church. So it's a pretty great investment in Zion's future. Thank you.
That extra 50 cents on that panel is really important, so just wanted to know for full disclosure. So 2 things to add. One is Andy Dirksen is kind of my AI bot. He puts all this stuff up on the Zion's website. So all these slides are on Zion's website. You just go to the home page, and on the far right corner it will say Special Meeting 2024. You click on that, pick. These slides will be up there so you can see that a little bit better. The slides from last August, as well as the presentation we did last August that was live streamed, is up there too. I did see there were a few people that looked at it. It had a few more views over the last couple weeks, so thank you for doing that. The other thing is, let's see, they're not here. Dan Bensig offered that if you do want to put money towards a panel and you don't have to buy the whole panel, they run a what's a good name? An awards business that makes like trophies and recognition stuff. So he said that they would like engrave plaques, and we can, put your family legacy up there on the solar panels that you contribute to that will hopefully last as long as the panels. Question and answer. I think that's all I had to say basically out of the presentation. Todd? Do you have a mic? The vendor has done all that work for us, and the no news is good news. So right now they've put all of the stuff in, and they work with PP&L and the boroughs. So if we get approval, one of us will make the phone call and say, we're a go, and then we'll get the next check ready. And if there's any issues, they'll let us know. But it should be all set. Yeah. Yeah, the permitting process. Yep. Oh, go ahead, Rudy. I'm sorry, I didn't catch everything. Well, that'd be the 20,000 as far as the we described it as underlayment for the panels, but whatever like landscaping and coverage we need to do after the construction is in there at 20,000. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, really there's literally no moving parts. Once it's all wired up and connected, that's it. I mean, the closest thing to a moving part would be the two solar inverters that translate the energy from DC to AC that runs into our three-phase system here. So we really don't have any maintenance. There is warranty on all of the devices, and PowerStream stands by their work with a warranty. So we're not expecting anything, so we didn't forecast costs. But there is insurance. Pat Kratz let me know that she talked to the insurance folks, and there'll be $1,500 a year in premium or something like that for damage, vandalism. I don't think there's going to be any theft. That would be pretty bold for people to do that. But these days, you never know. So again, and Craig and I both have solar. We're in our 13th year, and we've spent $0 on maintenance. So yeah, we're not at 25, but we're at 13. So we've had really good experience with it from a maintenance part. Thank you. These are good questions. And I hope I'm repeating the questions so that the live stream people can hear. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say. So whether you're in favor of it or not, please vote, because we want people to feel good that they've been heard, that their opinion has been received by the church. So no one's trying to force this. This is something that we have to make a decision on as a church body. Wow, that coffee cake must be getting on everybody's mind here. No more questions. I guess there's no way to tell if anyone out in the ether has any questions. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, Scott, not you.
Calculations or present value calculations, because of the stream of cash flows over a period, is obviously different than just the totality of what that is, because of interest and earnings calculations.
I can say that over a year ago, Barry Haldeman and the finance team did put a massive spreadsheet together And the assumptions really haven't changed that much since then. So I think the answer is yes. I can't quote off, what those things are. But it's very, very favorable. I think if you were an investor and you were either going into the market or venture capital, you'd say this is a pretty good payback. Pat, maybe we can dig that up and post it up on the website for people to look at. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, when you talk you had no maintenance, that means you have no battery backup of any sort? This is just direct?
Right, this will be a grid tied system with no battery backup. Yeah, battery backup would be pretty cool, and it's big in California and other places, but that's pretty significant cost. Well, this will give me a chance to get a little bit nerdy. So this is tied to the grid. So PP&L is our supplier, so the energy will come in from PP&L, and the way it will work is just, especially during the summer, during the peak times, the system will generate more power than we use here in the church. That'll go back to PP&L into our account. Think of it as like a checkbook, so we'll get a deposit in our checkbook, and then at nighttime, obviously the sun's not shining and we don't have battery backup to power it, so then we'll be drawing electricity from PP&L. And so over a year's time, those two forces will, work against each other. And we think that we've sized it right, so we should be around net zero, or possibly we'll end up with a little bit more money or a little bit more electricity we generate than we use. In our case, at our home, in the last 4 years, we've generated slightly more than we've used. So it's especially being retired, it's really nice. So our electric bill to be tied to the grid is $15.85 a month, and then in every May, I think it is, we get about $120 back as tax-free, along with the SRECs for generating more electricity than we use. So yeah, that gave me a chance. Anything else? Okay, Bob, I guess I'll turn it back to you. Thank you. I can tell by body language everyone's paying attention and listening, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so ushers will be handing out ballots. I do have to say that according to our Constitution, members only to vote. Okay. So according to our Constitution, it's a members only vote. And we do have this open that anybody that's watching live stream or is watching it live stream, that they can vote till tomorrow evening through the church office, either emailing Jen with your vote or giving her a call. She is here till about 3 o'clock. So if you want to call, do it before 3 o'clock. If not, you can email her. And once you vote, we'll pass the ballots to the center, and the ushers will pick those up. Yes, please, when you're done, please pass them to the center, and the ushers will collect the ballots. Okay. Please don't forget, there's plenty of good cakes. I was told that it was smelling pretty good back there, so there's cake and coffee and drinks in the reception room. Meeting adjourned.